Hello and welcome back. I think this is episode 5 or 6 of the DebateGate Sports Podcast. If you're joining us, welcome. We thank you so much for clicking on this video. So today we are going to be giving our NFL playoff predictions. We use this great website that we suggest you use if you're a big sports fan, and you probably are if you're listening. NFL Playoff Predictor. You can also do other sports if you prefer other sports, but we feel like NFL is the best. It's a great website. It gives us so much information, and you just choose game by game. That's why we used it, so we didn't have mathematically impossible records, because there's some records that we thought of before, but they were impossible. Anyways, let's basically jump right into it, starting with Baltimore. Baltimore, I have them going 14-2, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Pretty obvious. I mean, this team has a possibility of going at 16-0, but their safety depth is not really good ever since, they kind of addition by subtraction by getting rid of, Earl Thomas. By getting rid of Earl Thomas, but that Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott don't really scare me at the safety position, so that's a big issue. But otherwise, I think this team's going to be very good. The only teams I've been losing to is Tennessee, kind of just for the drama. Same with New England, kind of just for the drama. Pretty self-explanatory. I feel like Tennessee, if Derrick Henry gets up to that second level, there's no one to stop him on this team, so they lose, and then Bill Belichick's just going to put on a coaching clinic up against Baltimore this time.
Monday night primetime in Foxborough.
Yep, so that's what I think.
I also have them as the number 1 seed, 14-2. A couple of key games on their schedule that I picked. I have them skewing one early from the defending champs Kansas City Chiefs in Week 3. I think, Monday night, I think Kansas City, they're going to have a tough time. It's really hard to have a really successful season after you just came off a Super Bowl win. I don't think they're going to have it completely together by Week 3, so that's why Baltimore's going to win that one. But I also have them losing Week 7 versus Pittsburgh. I'm not too high on Pittsburgh because I think they're going to be very injured. But I think here Pittsburgh isn't going to have too many important injuries. I think the way their defense is set up, Baltimore's going to have to really run it down their throat, which I don't think they're going to do. I think it's too early for Jonathan Taylor to really flourish. So I have Pittsburgh there. Also New England. Josh had the same thing. Week 10, Foxborough, Sunday night. I think this is the point in the season when New England really starts to turn things around and find their identity. Cam Newton starts to play like what he once was. So I think New England gets it done there.
Awesome. Yes. So let's move on to Kansas City. I have Kansas City at the 2nd seed at 13-3. Games they're losing are Baltimore, New England, and I had them at 13-3. Wait, I can't. And Tampa Bay. All right, Tampa Bay, I think they're going to lose to Tampa Bay for the sole reason Tom Brady exists. Now, I know Tom Brady's old, but he still has doesn't have like an overbearing ego like someone like Antonio Brown, but he still has quite the ego, and he'll want to prove that he's still here, kind of like showing Patrick Mahomes, like, yeah, you got 1 ring, but kiss these 6 rings, and out-dueling him there. New England, once again, Bill Belichick, I think, is going to be on a coaching tear, win Coach of the Year. And Baltimore, just, they're stronger on the offensive line and will be able to overpower because they really don't have anyone good on the defensive line besides Chris Jones and Frank Clark, where I think both of them are criminally overrated. That's about it with Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City for me, 13-3, the number 2 seed. I actually have them starting off the season 9-1. Their only loss coming to Baltimore. I think they're going to take advantage of some not great teams. Carolina, the Jets, Houston. I don't think it's going to be great. The Chargers. So look for Kansas City to take advantage of that. Week 15, though, I have them losing to New Orleans, and I think that's not really a great matchup for them. I think New Orleans is going to have Alvin Kamara really playing well by them. And Kansas City's kind of lacking depth in their linebacking corps as well as their cornerbacks. So I think New Orleans is going to steal one there. However, a really good season from Kansas City.
Yeah, great season. Moving on to the number 3 seed for me, I think this is where we start to diverge. I
Mhm.
have the Tennessee Titans at 10-6. I feel
Okay.
like this team gets so underrated in defense. I feel like this team is like, oh, everyone's like, okay, they have a good defense, but I don't think they realize how much talent they have on this
Personally, I
defense.
think Kevin Byard's the best safety in the league.
I
One,
think he's
I think
second
top two.
behind
I think
my Bears, Eddie Jackson. But, I do think he's second best safety in the league. Amazing, amazing safety. But you have Kenny Vaccaro, who's an underrated safety. You have Adoree Jackson, a criminally underrated cornerback. Malcolm Butler, I guess he had that one catch that one time to do that one thing called winning a Super Bowl. I guess that's okay. Then you have Rashad Evans, great underrated linebacker. I think Jadeveon Clowney is like the run stuffing presence they needed after they got rid of Jarrell Casey. But I just have them, really doing well again. They have a pretty easy schedule, to be honest. They have a lot of losing teams they face. They actually face 10 of their 16 games are against what I have as losing record teams. So they have a pretty easy schedule, and they're able to beat who they need to beat to get in the playoffs, and they lose to who they're going to lose to, like Chicago or Green Bay or Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think Tennessee is going to be that high. Actually, to be fair, I do have them at 10-6, so they're my 4th seed. But for number 3 for me, the Buffalo Bills at 11-5. I think they're really going to be good this year. Defense is just going to be as good as they always are, and I think the offense is going to improve with Stephon Diggs at wide receiver. However, I do have them losing 2 games to the New England Patriots. And for me, it just came down to coaching. New England's seen Buffalo so many times. Bill Belichick versus Sean McDermott. I think New England's just going to outcoach them both times. So I have them losing both of those. I also have them losing to San Francisco. I just think San Francisco is kind of a better team um, on paper. And so I think San Francisco will be playing well by then. Monday night game. I take the Niners. However, I do think they're going to get a statement win against the Tennessee Titans in Week 5. I think it's going to be huge for them. That'll put them at 5-0. I think Tennessee's going to have to run the ball really well. I think Ed Oliver is going to clog up the lane, stop Derrick Henry, and the defense is just going to. I don't think Tennessee can really be able to score on Buffalo, so that's why I have them.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to I'm sorry, Bills fans, but winning your division is the 10-6 New England Patriots for me. Just I hate, as much as I hate the Patriots, I hate what the stigma is around the Patriots for, like, oh, the dynasty over. Like, when the dynasty was happening, they were like, oh, Tom Brady was only great because of Belichick. Tom Brady leaves, they're like, oh, this is over. We don't have Tom Brady anymore. But then you bring in Cam Newton, who, coming from Bill motherfucking Belichick, says is the greatest worker in the NFL. That really is one of the greatest compliments you can get. I think this team's going to go 10-6. I actually had them starting out 10-3 through the first 14 games, but I had them losing 3 tough ones down the stretch, which has caused them to lose that number 2 seed I had with them at the beginning, with losing to Miami, because they, for some reason, like, I think it's like 4 of the last 5 or 3 of the last 4 years, Miami has beat New England at least once. And most of the time that's come in Miami, so it's just kind of bad luck down there. I think Buffalo will win the series. I have them winning at home, and then I have winning at the end of the season. And then I have the New York Jets doing the same exact thing that Miami did in Week 17 last year and beat them in Week 17 at Foxborough. So that's what I have. I have them just, doing pretty good, beating who they're supposed to be, except for that last 3 games, and upsetting Kansas City, San Francisco, and Baltimore. I just think that's where Bill Belichick's really going to shine, and show that, like, this is what he's been doing his entire career, is taking less talented teams and pitting them against better talented teams and winning and out coaching them.
I actually Can agree. I have New England at 10-6 as well. However, since Buffalo wins that division, they're not going to be number 4. Number 4 belongs to the Tennessee Titans. So I think initially this is why I like this system a lot, because I'm thinking that the Titans, yeah, they'll probably take a step back, but really they're going to win the division and have another great year. So I do have them losing to Denver for week 1. That's more for drama. But I think Denver's going to really, their offense is so good on paper. I think they're really going to come out firing early. They won't be able to have their offense gunning. So I have them losing a close one. I also have them losing to Minnesota week 3. Once again, similar thing. Minnesota's D-line is very good. So Tennessee's going to have to beat them with the pass, which I'm not sure that they'll be able to do by week 3. So I take Minnesota there. As well as I see a big win over Green Bay. That'll be from weeks 12 to 16. They'll have won 5 in a row. I don't like Green Bay this year. I mean, I've never really liked Green Bay, but I don't like their chances of winning. I have them 8-8. So I think Green Bay is going to have – Aaron Rodgers is going to have one foot out the door. He's already mad at Packers for drafting Jordan Love. So I have Tennessee there.
Alrighty then. Moving on to the 5th seed in the first wild card, I have the 10-6 Pittsburgh Steelers. This Pittsburgh Steelers team is amazing. I love a lot of it, especially since AB is gone and Le'Veon. Wasn't really the biggest fans of them. The only one we have to do is Mr. Doesn't Know What No means in Ben Roethlisberger. And I have them going 10-6, even though they have a really easy schedule, because I have them losing against, yes, I do, Jacksonville, Washington, and Cincinnati. And that's because they have a history of playing down to their opponents. They have a history of sucking against losing teams. Granted, it's still a 7-3 record against losing teams, but you somehow find a way to lose to Washington, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati. And I just think that's just what they're going to do. They've done this every year since Ben Roethlisberger's been at quarterback. They somehow find a way to play down to the talent of their opponent, and they have that 5th wild card spot, and that keeps them from they'll still be in the 5th wild card spot, but that keeps them from having a better record, like maybe 12-4 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Pittsburgh. I have them missing the playoffs, losing record. So I can't say I agree with that, but I mean, you never know. This is the NFL. So for my number 5 seed, I have the New England Patriots. Sorry to say, the dynasty is not over. The Patriots will go 6-0 in their division. I know Josh was saying that they like to lose to Miami and New York, whatever. I don't think it's going to happen. A lot of their divisional games come late in the year. So by then, I think New England will be playing very well. I think they'll take care of all 6 of those games. However, I do have 2 early losses against Seattle and Vegas. I think I said this before, but I think Cam Newton's it's going to take a few weeks for him to get really fit in with the offense. I think the defense is going to have to carry most of the way. However, Seattle has a very good offense, as well as Kansas City and Vegas, which all have very good offenses. So I took the opponent there. However, a big win over Baltimore. I kind of mentioned that already, but I think that's the point in the season when New England's going to really turn it around and win a lot of games.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Didn't you have New England at 10-6? I just had them winning the division because I had
them at 10-6.
Gotcha. Speaking of having them win the division, it's because this Buffalo team I have going 9-7. Making the playoffs. Wow. Spoiler alert, we recorded last night, but someone forgot to record. It's fine. We both have one each where we forgot to record. But you had a 7-9 Colts team making the playoffs. 8-8. Okay, so you're like, wow, at 9-7 making the playoffs? All right, shut up, Gavin, at this point. Come on, man. Anyways, I think their main issue is that they have a hard schedule. So I have them 3-6 against winning teams. For example, they lose against Arizona, they lose against San Francisco, they lose against Pittsburgh. So it's just, this team's very good, very talented. I just feel like wide receiver depth is going to be an issue, as well as offensive line depth. I feel like their defense is so skilled that they have really no holes on that defense. They're just all in all a good team. They don't really have a top 3 player at any position on the defense, but they're just all top 15 players at their position. They're all above average players at their position, and combined they win that game or win the season and go 9-7 and become that 6th seed and face Tennessee in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, I was making fun of you for having the Bills at 9-7. However, my 6th seed is 9-7 as well. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders. So, the new team in Las Vegas, they're actually going to win their last 5. So from week 13 to week 17, they're going to make a huge playoff push and come through to finish second in their division. Their last 5 opponents are the Jets, the Colts, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Broncos. All 5 of those I think they can get done. I think Darren Waller is going to have a breakout year, as well as Josh Jacobs is going to continue to improve. Derek Carr, I think, he's not really going to have like a great year, but I mean, he's going to be surrounded by great players. So I think it's kind of going to be in like the same situation where Mitchell Trubisky made the Pro Bowl. So like his team's going to be successful if it's not all counted to him. But I do have them losing to Tampa Bay. Coming out of the bye week, I think their defense is going to be sluggish. I think Tampa Bay is going to really fire on all cylinders. Offensively, it's going to be a high-scoring game, but Tampa Bay comes out on top.
Speaking of Tampa Bay against Las Vegas, at the 7 seed, I have the Las Vegas Raiders against Tampa Bay, and I have them winning. And they go 9-7 for the season. Once again, I think this Vegas team has a really hard schedule. I mean, you have to play the Chiefs twice, then you have to play the entirety of the AFC South. So you have to play Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. The only one I have them winning is against Tampa Bay. And this team, I feel like they're just too young on defense. I feel like they have a lot of talent on defense. They're just way too young for me. Like Jonathan Abram, he was injured most of the year, so he didn't really get a chance to excel and have a lot of playing time. And then your linebackers, you're really relying on 2 guys, and Corey Linton and Nick Kwiatkowski, who thrived in backup roles in defenses that were extremely talented, to try and do what they did in like the comfort of a talented defense around them and excel at the starting positions there. So I feel like that's a lot to ask of their defense, even though I do like their offensive line a lot along with Josh Jacobs. I just don't think that's enough for them to win double-digit games, but it is enough for them to sneak into that last wild card spot.
Well, talking about sneaking into playoff spots, how about this? The Indianapolis Colts, 8-8. They are going to get in. They are 0-6 versus winning teams. Let me just say that right now. Their strength of victory is a 0.297, which in case you don't know is very, very bad. They have a very easy schedule, not going to lie. However, I do think they're going to have 2 losses against the superior team in that division, Tennessee. I think Phillip Rivers, I don't know. I don't think he's very washed. He's very washed. He was kind of the reason that the Chargers were as bad as they were last year. So I don't think he's really going to play great. So a lot of these good defensive teams, one thing that this Tennessee team does is force a lot of turnovers, especially in the past. Phillip Rivers likes to throw a lot of interceptions. So that's a very bad matchup for them. However, they are going to win some close games. And so I think they are going to sneak into the playoffs.
Awesome. Well, I only have one team. I just want to talk about one team that's close to the playoffs but isn't in, and that is the Cleveland Browns. I feel like they're going to have a hard time struggling with adjusting with a new coach, as well as they invested a lot of money into that tight end position for no reason. They don't have any wide receiver depth, no linebackers, and really no safeties. So that's my main issue, is that they have 3 tight ends making a lot of money, or 2. David Njoku making first-round type talent money. They just paid Austin Hooper, even though Njoku has been progressing very well. Don't know why they did that. And then they lost Joe Sherbert on defense. So that back half of the defense is not as sure of it as I was last year, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I do love Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward across from each other at the cornerback position, but I think the new coach and the lack of depth on defense is just gonna kill them and cause them to miss the playoffs at 7-9.
So I actually have the Browns going 8-8, and the reason that they're not in over the Colts is the Colts are going to beat them in Week 5, which is actually at Week 5. It may not seem very important, but in the grand scheme of things, it will be. So Cleveland, once again, 0-6 versus winning teams. Their strength of victory is worse than the Colts. So once again, taking advantage of easy teams. However, they have 3 games that I want to point out where they play teams that are like kind of very similar. Similar records, like close games that they need to win. And that's Week 5 against Indy, they lose. Week 8 versus Vegas, they lose. And Week 11 versus Philadelphia, they lose. I think if you could lose all 3 of those games, those teams are on your level. If you can't win those games, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So Cleveland's just not going to be able to win the big games this season. They're going to be disappointing once again.
Yeah.
Another team I wanted to look at is Houston. And Houston, I have at the 10th seed, they're going to go 7-9. So I have them starting off 2-7, 0-4. Deshaun Watson's going to get a lot of help. Bill O'Brien's probably going to want to trade him for like a 6th round pick or cash considerations or something like that. Anyways, yeah, I think they're going to get off to a very bad start. David Johnson's just not good. So I don't want to.
Yeah, you traded a top 3 wide receiver for a backup running back. A backup running back in a 2nd round pick.
Ridiculous.
Quite possibly the dumbest trade ever.
Yeah, exactly. So I do have them beating New England in Week 11, though. Also, I wanted to point out Cincinnati, you're going to be 13th. Sorry, Joe Burrow's not. They just have no talent around Joe Burrow. As well as Miami is going to be 15th, 3-13. They're not going to, if they're smart, they're not going to rush to a back, not going to risk injury. And if they tank like that, and where at least where my teams are, they'll have the 3rd pick. So if you can do that, keep Tua healthy, just get him some experience. I think that would be a really smart thing for Miami to do. So that's it for me.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
listening. This is
the AFC portion of our video. The NFC will be coming out shortly. We thank you guys for the support. We hope you enjoyed. Let us know in the comments what we did good, what we could do better. If you stayed this far. Anyways, thank you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe.